welcome to my YouTube video. And now today I promise people that we're gonna be doing trigonometry. It sounds scary as always, but to be honest with you, this is one of the simplest topic ever in paper 2. So what you need to do, you just need to understand how these trig functions work. So I'm going to name 3 basic functions that you know usually. So the first one is sine, of which you can give it any angle, sine of theta, of which the second one is cos of theta. These are the 2 basic functions, trig functions. Actually, we do have tan, but tan it is made up of these 2. But these are the basic trig functions. Then the third one is what? Is tan theta, of which this tan theta is the same as what? Sine theta over what? Cos theta. This is where everything starts. So in order for you to understand how this work, they can work on what? It's either they can work when you're using a Cartesian plane, or they can work when you're using what? Maybe it can be an isosceles triangle, or it can be what? A right angle triangle. Yeah, things like that. So first of all, I want to show you, in most cases when they give you questions about trigonometry, they say without the use of a calculator. So I will start by defining special angles that are less than what? 90. So to do that, you need an equilateral triangle. Equilateral triangle is what? It is this triangle whereby all angles are equals to what? 60. Then you will have 60 degrees and 60 degrees and what? And 60 degrees like that. And also, it is also assumed that from this side to that side, the length is just 2. The very same thing is going to be 2, because remember, equilateral triangle, all sides are equal and all angles inside are equals to 60. Then you'll have 2 and 2, and you also have 2. Then from there, what you do, you draw a line such that that line, it will come and cut this side into 2 equal half. Then which means you're going to have what? A line coming to this, which is going to bisect this line. Bisecting this line, which means from here to this point is going to be 1, of which from here to this point is going to be what? 1. And this angle is no longer 60, it is also bisected, so it's going to be 30 degrees and what? And 30 degrees. And to check, remember, and this one is going to be perpendicular to this. An angle drawn from there to this is going to be the angle, the line drawn from what? From this angle to this side is going to bisect what? The line, and also is going to bisect it into what? Perpendicular, into an angle of 60 degrees. Then now, when you have this, since this side from here to there and there, this triangle is considered as what? It's considered as a right angle triangle. Then to find this side, we're going to use what? We're going to use a theorem of Pythagoras, of which using a theorem of Pythagoras, this one it is your hypotenuse, and this one it is what? Your adjacent. Then you have to check the what? The opposite side, of which you're going to say the opposite side squared plus the adjacent side squared is the same as what? The hypotenuse squared, of which the opposite side is what you're looking for, plus what? The adjacent side is 1 squared, then this one is what? Is 2 squared, of which the opposite side squared is the same as what? You take this one to the other side, this is going to be 4 minus 1, of which you're getting what? 3. But remember, you're looking for O, for the opposite side, of which this is opposite side squared, then you'll have to take what? The square root, of which taking the square root is normally plus or minus, but then for the sake of length, this is length, you will never have a negative length, so we're going to take the positive one, of which we're going to have what? Root of 3. Then using this, when they say without the use of a calculator, this is what they say. When you have sine, when we have maybe sine of 60, we know that sine is what? Is opposite over what? Over the adjacent, is not so? Opposite over the hypotenuse. Then now, when they say sine of 60 degrees, this is what you do. When they say without the use of a calculator, you draw something like this aside, and then you show them that you are not punching a calculator. You come and say, okay, this is 60. What is the opposite of 60? Of which is this one, is root of 3. Then you're going to have what? root of 3 over the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is what? Is 2. Then you will write 2. When they say cos of 60 degrees, we know that cos is what? Is the same as the adjacent of what? The hypotenuse. Then of which the adjacent of 60 is what? Is the angle, is the line that is what? Next to this 60. Remember, the word adjacent, it means next to. Then from there, you will have 60. The angle next to, the side next to it is what? Is 1. You're going to have 1 over. The hypotenuse is the same, is what? Is 2. Then for tan, when they come and say tan of 60 degrees, this tan of 60 degrees, remember tan is opposite over the adjacent. Then it's going to be opposite over what? Over the adjacent. It's going to be root of 3 over 1, of which this is the same as what? Root of 3. Then when they say 30, you will come and say sine of 30 degrees is the same as, remember, is the opposite over what? Over the hypotenuse. But now we are dealing with 30. The opposite of 30 is what? It is this side. Then we're going to have what? 1. The hypotenuse doesn't change, it's always 2. We'll have 1 over 2. Then you go to cos of 30. When they say cos of 30, remember, cos of 30 is adjacent. Adjacent next to, which line is next to this 30, of which is just this one? It's going to be what? Root of 3 over the hypotenuse, of which is what? Is 2. The very same thing with tan. You come and say tan of what? Tan of 30 degrees. Then it's going to be what? The opposite over what? Is going to be opposite over the hypotenuse, of which this is going to be 1 over what? Root of 3. And one thing that is tricky, you might think that if you just punch the calculator, they will not know that you have used the calculator. This is how they're gonna know. When you use this equilateral triangle, you will get 1 over root of 3. But if you punch in the calculator, this is what you will get. You will get 3 over root of 3, of which if you just go and write this answer like this, that's when they will know that you did what? You used the calculator. But then for them not to see that you have used the calculator, this is going to be 1 over what? Root of 3. Then from there, we are done with what? With the special angle, which is 60 and 30. Now going to what? To 45. To 45, they don't use an equilateral triangle. They use isosceles triangle. Isosceles triangle is going to be like this. It is isosceles right angle triangle, of which is going to have 90, and here you're going to have 45 and 45. So you're always given 2 sides. So then this one and this one, they say is 1 and this one is 1 because these 2 are equal. Remember, isosceles triangle is what? Is when what? 2 opposite angles are what? Are equal, and also what? Even their line, their sides are what? Are equal. Then which means this one is the same as that, and then this line it is equals to what? To that. So now to check for this side, you're going to use theorem of Pythagoras, of which you're going to use what? Again, you're going to say hypotenuse side is the same as what? The adjacent side plus what? The opposite side. Then the adjacent side is the same as 1 squared. The opposite side is the same as 1 squared. Then this is going to give you what? 2, of which finding h is just what? Root of 2. Then here you have root of 2. Then now, in this case, to check for sine of 45, this is what you're going to do. Remember, you can use this side or use that side. It doesn't matter because these angles are what? Are the same. Then, okay, using this side, we're going to have the opposite, of which is 1 over the hypotenuse, of which is what? Root of 2. If you use the angle, without the use of a calculator, you will get 1 over 2. But if you use a calculator, you will find what? Root of 2 over what? Over 2. Then if you just come and say 45 equals to this, they will know that you have used the calculator. Then if you go to cos of 45, cos of 45 is going to be adjacent, of which is 1 over what? The hypotenuse side, of which is what? Is root of 2, of which is the same as what? As sine. So sine of 45 is the same as cos of 45. Then if you go to tan of 45, tan of 45 is what? Is the opposite over what? Over the adjacent, of which is 1 over 1, you get what? You get 1. So with tan of 45 and tan of 60, cos of 60 and everything, we are done with this. This is basic from grade 10. As long as you want to understand trig, this is what you need to understand first. And also in grade 10, they can also give you something like this. They can also say sine of theta equals to maybe 1/2. They will require what? The angle, and they will say without the use of a calculator. So which means you need to draw what? An isosceles triangle, and check the side where 1 it is the opposite, and what? And 2 it is the hypotenuse. And then which means you will check this is the opposite of what? This is 1 is the opposite of 30, and then the hypotenuse is 2, which means this theta is going to be what? It's going to be 30. But then another way, in some cases, they can say in grade 12, they'll say without the use of a calculator, but in grade 10, they will still give you a chance of doing what? Of using a calculator. So to find this angle, you will simply do what? You write the inverse of sine 1/2, of which if you punch a calculator, you will simply get what? 30 degrees. It's not so. The very same thing with tan. Maybe let's say they say root of 3. Root of 3, you will know that for tan to be root of 3, you do this. The inverse of this inverse, you just in your calculator you press shift tan. It will give you an inverse, and then you punch this number inside. You will get what? 60 degrees. So this is what you do. This is easy. And sometimes, besides say asking you for angles, they can also ask you for side after being given what? An angle. This is what you do. When they give you a right angle triangle like this, and then maybe they give you, maybe let's say 60, and they give you, maybe let's say this one is root of 3, and then they give you one side and what? And the angle, and then they okay, let's just maybe say this one, the hypotenuse side, and then they ask you for this other side and say find this side. Let's say maybe they say A, B, C. They say find BC. What you need to do in relation with the angle, you need to check what is this side to the angle, of which you can see it is next to the angle, which means it's the adjacent side. And then when do we talk about the adjacent side? We talk about the adjacent side when we have what? When we have cos and also what? Tan. But then when we're talking about tan, which means we must also have what? The opposite, because it's opposite over the adjacent. And then in cos is what? Is what? Is adjacent over what? The hypotenuse. So in this case we're given what? The hypotenuse, but then we don't have what? The opposite. So which means we must use what? We must use cos. Then we're going to have cos of what? Cos of 60 is going to be the same as what? It's going to be the same as this BC side, of which is the adjacent of what? The hypotenuse. Then this BC is going to be the same as 2 cos 60 degrees. In grade 10, they will allow you to press a calculator. So if you press a calculator, you will see, or maybe if you don't have a calculator, you can still do what? You can still use this side. You can come and say the adjacent is the same as what? 1 over what? 2. Cos of 60 is the same as 1 over 2, of which this will give you 2 multiplied by half is the same as 1. Then you come and write 1. If they ask you to find maybe AB, you know that AB for now, you have what? You have the hypotenuse and you have what? And you have the adjacent. Here in this case, you can also use tan. You can also use what? You can also use sine. So in this case, let's use sine. Using sine, we're gonna have sine of what? Of the angle, because this one is opposite to this angle. Sine of 60 is the same as what? Opposite of which is what you're looking for, AB over what? The hypotenuse. And then you multiply both sides. Here you'll have AB equals to what? 2 sine of what? 60 degrees. Then AB. Then sine of 60 degrees, remember, is going to be the opposite. The opposite over what? The hypotenuse. Then you'll have root of 3 over what? 2. Of which multiply these. We'll have AB as what? Root of 3, of which is just root of 3. And you can see that even in this rectangle triangle, we have root of 3. So grade 10 geometry is a little bit easy, please. You can, if you didn't understand where I've explained, or you can still rewind the video and go back and listen to it. So this is grade 10. This is what you do in grade 10, and this is the easiest of all. So for now, let's move to some of the things that you need to know about trig. Then guys, here we dealt with what? With angles that are less than 90. Now let's check. How can we estimate angles that are greater than 90 or equal to 90? This is what you do. Then go to a topic that is called what? The reduction formula. We call it what? Reduction formula. This reduction formula, it starts when in a Cartesian plane. This Cartesian plane, you need to know how the Cartesian plane works. The Cartesian plane, you start with what? With 0 degrees. And remember, this thing is circulating. So you left 0, and this is just 90, 90, 90, 90. Then from here to there is what? Is 90 degrees. Then you just add 90 again, you'll get what? 180. You add 90, you get what? 270. You add 90, you get what? 360. If you want, you can still add 90 there. If you add 90, I think you still get 450. And then you add 90, I think you'll get 540. Then you add 90, I think you'll get 330. Then you add 90 here, you'll get 720. There's a reason why I'm continuing. So what you need to know about the Cartesian plane, all these numbers that are at the same side, they work the same. They all work the same. Then this should tell you that the sine of 90 degrees is the same as what? Sine of 450 degrees. Likewise, cos of 90 degrees is the same as what? Cos of 450 what? Degrees. You can punch that in a calculator and verify. They work the same. As long as the angle is here, they all work the same. The very same thing that is going to happen with this. And another thing that is worth noting is that all the angles that are found in the vertical line, cos of that angle, it will always give you 0. So it means to say that cos of 90 is 0 and cos of 450 is 0. And then also cos of 270 degrees is what? Is 0. And cos of what? 630 degrees is what? Is 0. Cos is 0 here, and sine is 0 in this line. So sine of what? Of 0 degrees is what? Is 0. Sine of what? 360 degrees is what? Is 0. If in sine of 720 is going to give you what? 0. And then sine of 180 is going to give you what? 0. Sine of 540 is going to give you what? 0. So another thing that is worth noting is that sine of, you see from here, going up, from 0, from the origin, going up, this sine of all these angles, it is 1. It is equals to 1. Then sine of what? 90 degrees is 1. Then sine of what? 450 degrees is what? Is 1. And then do you see from the origin, going down, sine of these angles is what? Is negative 1. Then 270 degrees is negative 1. Then what? Sine of 630 degrees is what? Is negative 1. So you see negative 1 and 1. So when it comes to the horizontal, cos work like what? It works like sine. So you see from here, cos of every angle that is going to be here, let's say 180 is going to be negative 1. And then cos of what? 540 degrees is going to be what? Negative 1. Negative 1, negative 1. But then cos of these angles that are here, cos of, let's say cos of 0, it is 1. Cos of what? 360 degrees is what? Is 1. Then cos of what? 720 degrees is what? Is 1. I hope you understand. Please, if you didn't understand, rewind the video and go back and listen. And then, this is trick. When they say without the use of a calculator, most of you think like maybe it's impossible, you can't, hey, what? No. You need the right person to show you this. So another thing that is worth noting, this is very, very important. Now we are starting the reduction formulas. Like that. Now we are starting the reduction formulas. There is that song that most people like to sing when doing reduction formulas. They say, all students take coffee. It doesn't matter. Some, they say it in different ways. It doesn't matter, but What matters is to understand. It's not so. Then they say all students take coffee. What does this mean? It means that all trig functions in the first quadrant, they're what? They're all positive. They are positive, which means sine of any angle which is less than 90. Any angle which is less than 90 is going to be positive. Cos of any angle which is less than 90 is going to be what? Positive. Tan again is going to be what? Positive. Then here they say only sine is what? Is positive. So which means sine of any angle which is between 90 and 180 is going to be what? Positive. You can just press maybe sine of 130. You can also press sine of 120. You always get what? A positive, which means cos is negative, tan is negative. Here, only tan. Any angle which is between these, only tan will give you a positive one. Sine and cos, they're negative. In this one, only cos is the one that is positive. If you punch any angle which is between maybe 270 and what? And 360, or maybe between 630 and what? And 720, that angle, it will always be what? Positive. Why do we have to know this? We have to know this when we go and answer the reduction formulas, what? Questions. Like they will come and say sine of 90 plus theta. So you know that with that plus theta, it is an angle between 0 and 90 in that case. Then which means it's going to be somewhere in the second quadrant. So which means in order for you to change that, there's going to be some changes. There are things that you need to know, which means you need to know that which trig function are you dealing with? We are dealing with sine. And if this angle which is found where? It's found in the second quadrant, then which means it's going to be positive when you're changing it like that. So now, let's go to the reduction formulas. Now let's check how it works. You see, when you are here in the first quadrant, the reduction formula that you need to know is only one, of which is what? Is 90 minus what? Minus theta. And here, the reduction formula that you need to know is two of them. Is 90 plus theta and what? And 180 minus what? Minus theta. But in this third quadrant, you need to know what? 180 plus what? Plus theta. And guys, you can still have 270 minus theta. It is part of the syllabus. You can still have that. You just need to use your head and use your mind on how you're going to change this. And you can still even have 360 degrees minus what? Minus theta. You just need to know how they work. It's not so. And this is what you need to know. You need to know how this Cartesian plane works. Here you're going to have what? You're going to have 360 minus what? Minus theta. And you can still have 270 plus theta. And you can still have what? 630 plus what? Plus theta. And here, because remember, this thing, it is going. It is always going anti-clockwise. Then which means you can still have 360 plus what? Plus theta. So all the angles that are here, they all work the same. But then there's only a special case, especially when you are in the vertical. When you are in the vertical, a lot of things change. If you have the inverse of sine, I mean the opposite of sine is cos, and the opposite of cos is what? Is sine. The opposite of tan is what? Is cot. The opposite of cot is what? Is tan. Then what you need to know is that as long as one of the angle, as long as the angle that you are starting with here, it is found in the vertical, this one, it will change to the opposite. Then, do you see this sine 90 plus theta? Just because it is found, this angle, it is found in the vertical, which means this one is going to change to what? To cos. Now, you will need to write the sign. If it's going to be positive or negative, you will have to write the sign. But then the trick is sign, and it's found in the second quadrant. Then this cos is going to be what? It's going to be positive. Positive cos. Then, but when you have sine 90 plus this is cos. And it's going to be found in the second quadrant. Then which means here we're going to have what? A negative automatical. But because this is found in the vertical, this is going to change to what? To sine theta. And remember I said 90, it works like 450. So if you have sine 450 plus theta, this one is going to change. It's found in the second quadrant. Then you're going to have what? You're going to have cos of theta. So you see, it doesn't matter as long as the angle, they work the same. You will have to know that you have to change. The very same thing you see in the only in the vertical. When I give you sine of what? Of 270 theta, maybe minus this. This one is found where? In the third quadrant. But it will have to change because this angle is found where? In the vertical. Then this one, is it going to be positive or negative? Since it's found in the third quadrant, it's going to be negative. Of what? Of cos what? Theta. Yes. Because this one is a special angle. I know that they don't normally use this, but if they get a chance of using this, you must know your stuff. When you talk about understanding, this is what we talk about when we talk about understanding maths. The very same thing, 360. I mean 630 degrees minus this. This one is going to change to negative because it's found where? Here in the third quadrant. It's going to be negative cos of this. You see, these two, they work the same. The very same thing with sin 90 and 450. They all work the same. So you can. So now let's check. What about tan 90 plus what? Plus that. How is that going to be? That is tan and the angle is found in the second degree. In what? In the second quadrant. Then which means this is going to be negative automatically. But just because it is found in the vertical, tan is going to change to cot. It's going to be cot of what? Cot of theta. And then cot of theta, you can simply write it as what? As cos over what? Over sine. Simple as that. So I hope everyone now knows how these things work. And before I can forget, there is this one. This one is very, very important. It's the negative angle. The negative angle is when now you are going back. When you are going back, things they become different, but the quadrant, they still work the same, like negative angles. Like when you have maybe theta minus 360. Let's say you have cos like this. When you're given in an opposite way, this thing is going to be found where? Here. And then cos is what in this one? It's positive, then this is going to be the same as what? Cos theta. But then if it's going to be somewhere here, if it's going to be somewhere here and you're going to have maybe cos of theta minus 270 degrees, and you look at this one, it is found in the vertical all the time. Check where your angle is found. As long as it is in the vertical, you know that it's going to change. Where is it found? It's found here in the third quadrant, of which only tan is positive. Then this is going to be negative, and the cos is going to change to what? To sine. Why? Because of this 270. This 270 is here. So guys, once you understand this, please go and check this video and check it nicely so that you understand the trig. Today you know trig for now. Then from here now, this is going to be what? Negative sign is changing because of what? Because of the angle that is found in the vertical. Then for now, let me teach you the negative angles. This one is very important. You see, when you have sine of any negative angle, this it will always be what? Negative sine of what? Of the angle. And when you have tan of the negative angle, this will always be what? Negative of what? Of the angle. But this changes when you have cos. This changes when you have cos. And many people will be asking me, why? What? Come on, because this angle, remember, it's a negative angle. It's found where? It's found in the fourth quadrant. And only sine is what? Is positive. Only sine is positive, then this is going to be, only cos is positive, which means this one is going to be positive cos. Then now, let me show you where will this thing apply. Where can we apply this? Let me check for a question where we will apply. Let me check a question where we will be able to apply those kind of questions. Yeah, I got a nice question. They say, hence or otherwise, show that when you have cos of 90 degrees minus x multiplied by what? Cos y plus sine negative y multiplied by cos 180 plus x over cos x multiplied by cos 360 plus y plus sine 360 minus what? Minus x, then multiply by what? By sine y. This is equals to tan of x plus y. Then now, let's check. Let's check on how we can manipulate. Of course, you'll have to choose the left-hand side because the left-hand side is what is the one that looks to be complex a little bit. But now, which means we're going to have cos of this 90 minus x multiplied by cos y plus sine minus y multiplied by cos 180 plus x all over cos x, then cos 360 plus y plus sine 360 minus x, then sine y. Then now, let's solve this. Remember what I told you. This is cos 90 degrees minus x. This cos, since 90 degrees is found in the vertical, this is going to change. This cos is going to change to what? To sine. And also, is it going to be positive or negative? You look at the angle. The angle is going to be found is 90 minus, found in the first quadrant, of which all of the trig functions are what? Are positive. Then which means in this case, you'll have sine of what? Sine of x multiplied by what? By cos of what? Cos of y. Then now, remember the negative angle. This is minus y, of which this is less than what? This is, less than 90, but 90 of negative, which means it's found where? In the fourth quadrant, which means this is going to be negative. Sine is negative. It's only cos which is positive in that quadrant. Then now, we have cos of 180 plus x. 180, it is found where? In the horizontal, not in what? Not in the vertical. So nothing will change there. So for now, it's 180 plus. It's found where? In the third quadrant. Which one is positive? Is tan. So which means this one is going to be what? Negative cos of what? Of x. Now here, this is just cos of x. There's nothing that you can do. Leave it like that. Now we have 360 plus y. Y is less than 90. Where is this going to be found? In the fourth quadrant. In the first quadrant. Because it's 360 now. We're adding an angle which is less than 90. You're going to find it in the first quadrant. Then which means, is it going to change? No, this one is found in the horizontal. So it's just going to be cos. But then cos of what? Cos of y. Positive, because it's found in the first quadrant. All of the trig functions are what? Are positive. Then now we have 360 minus x. Sine 360 degrees minus x. Sine 360 minus x is found in the fourth quadrant. And only cos is positive. Then which means this sign is going to be what? It's going to be negative. Negative x. Then this is just sine y. We are fine with that. Then from there, let's simplify this. Simplifying this, will have sine x cos y. What is this? Negative and negative will give you what? Will give you positive. And then you x sine what? Sine y. And then here you have cos y, cos minus sine x, then sine y. Then now, there is something that is called a compound angle. Compound angles, let me just explain compound angles. Compound angles, when you have sine of x plus or minus this will just be the same as sine x cos y plus or minus what? Cos x, then sine of what? Sine of y. So as long as you have plus, you're going to have plus. As long as you have negative, you're going to have negative. But then this changes when you have cos. When you're going to have cos plus or minus of this, you're going to have cos of x, then cos of y, then now negative plus, then sine of x, then sine of y. I want to explain this negative plus. So it shows that when you have cos x plus y, here you're going to have negative. When you're going to have negative, here you're going to have what? Positive. So now let's check. Let's check. What will this be? Here we have a compound of what? Let's check that side. Let's try to relate. Here we have sine x multiplied, then which means this one is for what? Is for sine. And then what is the first angle? It doesn't matter because we have positive. As long as you have positive, it doesn't matter. We know that it's just going to be, can be y plus x or x plus y, it doesn't matter. Positive is what? Is commutative, which means we're going to have sine x plus what? Plus y over. What about this one? We have cos x, cos y minus sine x sine y. And we know that every time when we have the negative in the middle, which means taking it back is going to be what? Positive. Then, and it doesn't matter what how you're gonna put it, it doesn't matter. The arrangement doesn't matter because you have positive. Then you're just gonna have x plus what? X plus y. And then remember, what is sine over y? What is sine over cos? Sine over cos is the same as what? Tan x plus y, of which is what we got here. So guys, please, let me just do the last example. The last example, let me check it from grade 11. Let me check it from grade 11, the last example. I hope you understand this one. If you don't understand, you can still text me on my number. I hope you know my WhatsApp number. Yeah, grade 11 is like this. Let me just erase this. So guys, once you understand how tricks work, you're gonna enjoy this. This is just going to be nice. So you see here, there are questions like this. I love explaining these kind of questions because they're the ones that you must also do what? Understand. Like that. So now, they say simplify this. Simplify, and you see, they say simplify without the use of what? Of the calculator. You don't even need a calculator to simplify this. As long as you go back to and rewind my video and recheck, you will see that you don't need a calculator to do what? To find this. What you need to do now, you need to use the reduction formula. You check what the angle is found and you do what? You add it or subtract it to the special angle. Now let's check. Where is this found? This is found where? This is found in the second quadrant. And in the second quadrant, we have what? We have 90 plus. We have 180 minus. Then which means you're just going to choose one of it. If we choose 90 plus, which means it's going to be 90 plus what? 90 plus 30. Then if we're going to use 180, which means it's going to be what? 180 minus what? 60. It's not so. Then which means let's just use 180 is good. It's going to say 180 minus 60. We know that 180 minus 60 gives you what? 120. That doesn't change anything. Then what about this one? This one is found where? In the fourth quadrant. In the fourth quadrant, let's just use what? 360. It's going to be 360 minus what? 60. It's not so. 360 minus 60 gives you what? 300. Then from there, remember, what did I say about this one? This one is found where? In the fourth quadrant, and it's going to be positive. So it's simply the same as what? As cos of 60. Then multiply by tan. Now let's check tan. What is this number found? 225. 225 is found where? In the third quadrant. And then in the third quadrant, what we have? 180 plus. We have 180 plus. Then 180 plus is going to be 180 plus what? What is this? 180 plus 45. It's 180 degrees plus 45. Then now, we know that with this one, sine 180 degrees minus 60 is found in the second quadrant. Sine is positive. Then we're just going to get sine of what? Sine of 60. Multiply by. What about this one? This one is going to be tan of what? But then let's check first. Wait. Let's check first. Where is this found? This is found in the fourth quadrant. Only cos is positive. Then this is going to be negative of tan 60 degrees over. This one is just cos of what? 60 degrees. What about this one? This one is found in the third quadrant and tan is only positive. Then this is just going to be tan of what? Tan of 45 degrees. Now let's check. since they said that without the use of a calculator, you know, you will need what? You will need the equilateral triangle. You remember, as long as you know how to do this, you will never forget it. You will just write it from your head. You have 1, you have 1, and here you have 2, you have 2, and this is 60, this is 60, and then 1, you can just use this side. And also, there's one for what? For 45. 45 degrees, this is 45. Then here you have root of 2, and you have 1, you have 1. Then now let's check, what is sine of 60? Sine of 60 is what? Opposite over what? The hypotenuse. Then we know that we're going to have root of 3 over what? Over 2. Multiply by, we have negative here. Then what about tan? Tan of 60. Tan of 60 is what? Is opposite over what? Over the adjacent, of which is going to be root of 3 over 1. You write it in full, root of 3 over 1. Don't write root of 3. They will say, they will assume that you have pressed the calculator. Then you show that that is what? It's root of 3 over what? Over 1. Then over. Then now let's check. You have cos of 60. So cos of 60 is what? Adjacent over what? The hypotenuse. And then from there, we have what? We have tan of 45. Tan of 45 is the same as what? Let's check. Tan of 45, we come here. Tan of 45 is going to be what? The opposite over the adjacent, of which is just 1. Then now, simplifying this, we have square root of 3 multiplied by square root of 3. We're going to get 3 over what? Over 2. Divided by, because of this division, I'm just writing divided by. This 1 over 1 is 1, multiplied by half, we're just going to have half. Then this is going to be 3, this half changes to multiplication over 1, then 2 and 2, they will go, you'll have what? You'll have 3, but negative 3, because remember there's negative there. Then we have negative 3 as the answer. If you take a calculator and punch it from the start from here, you will simply get that negative 3. But then remember, what they want is that they want you without the use of what? Of the calculator. So please guys, don't forget to subscribe. And please, I will also post the link, my Facebook link. If you want to see more problems that I solved on Facebook, you can just go and do what? And check my Facebook page. You scroll down, there are a lot of problems that I solved there. You can check out and practice and practice. Please don't forget to share as well. Sharing my videos with your friend, it will help your friends, and it will also help you, and it will also help me to grow. Then thank you. See you next time.